John's father has 3 sons. There's Jack, a quiet, intelligent student. Then there's Jason, a popular athlete. So who's the 3rd son? It's John. His father has 3 sons, Jack, Jason, and him, John. One day, a teacher decided to give her students a test, but all of them refused to take it. She could give detention for skipping the test to only one student. All of them knew each other's names. If a student knew they were going to get a detention, they agreed to take the test. How could the teacher make all the students participate? She told them that she'd give detention to the student whose name came first alphabetically. Then this person wouldn't skip the test. The next person on the list wouldn't skip as well, and so on until the end of the list. Randy was at home, sitting in his chair with a book. Suddenly, his sister's super expensive vase fell and broke in the living room. He ran there in time to see a stranger jump out of the window and run away. Randy tried to chase him, but his glasses fogged up because of the cold, so he couldn't see the person. When the police arrived, they immediately knew he was lying. He'd broken the vase himself. How did they know? Glasses don't fog up when you go from a warm room to the cold outdoors. It's the other way around. Michael Winston, who dislikes modern art, rushed into the city gallery and caused millions of dollars worth of damage to several paintings. Yet, the manager of the gallery thanked Mr. Winston for his actions. How come? Michael was a firefighter. The water from his hose damaged several masterpieces, but he still managed to extinguish the fire and save many more exhibits. Look at this line of people at the checkout in a supermarket. They're all a colorful bunch, but one of them is trying to sneak out food out of the store. Can you tell who just by looking at them closely? You might have thought it was the pregnant woman because of the fake tummy, but look! She's wearing comfy sneakers without shoelaces so that she could slip them on easily. The guy in a baggy hoodie sure looks suspicious, but it's not food he's hiding inside his pockets. It's a kitten. And the real culprit is the guy behind him. Look at his sleeves. One of his arms looks way bigger than the other. He must be hiding something in there. A man dressed in black from head to toe was walking in the middle of the road. All of a sudden, a huge black car with its headlights off came around the corner and screeched to a halt, not to hit him. How on earth did the driver of the car see the man in black? Well, the only reasonable answer would be that it was in broad daylight. Nobody said it was nighttime after all. 3 college friends met after a summer break and were sharing stories about their vacation. Lily described how she and her boyfriend had gone to Paris and seen the city from the top of the Eiffel Tower. Dylan told his friends that he had traveled to Africa with his parents. But on their last day, there was a massive volcanic eruption, and it didn't spoil their vacation only because they flew home that day. And Ellie said that she had visited her uncle in Texas and learned how to ride a horse. One of the stories was fake though. Which one? Dylan's story is fake. He couldn't fly home on the day of the eruption because when something like this happens, all flights get canceled. Mark and Amy got stranded on a tiny uninhabited island full of sand and rocks, but not much else. They had no radio or cell phones, and there were no trees on the island to make a smoke signal. Suddenly, Amy noticed a plane circling the sky in search of them. She got a bright idea to make it notice them. Soon after, the plane picked them up. What was Amy's idea? She suggested using rocks to spell out SOS on the sand. Mike was studying for a big test in the school library. It was already late when he finished up and suddenly heard someone shouting for help. The voice was coming from behind a locked classroom door. Mike rushed there and opened it. Inside, there was his classmate, Brad. He told Mike that he'd gone to grab a bite in the cafeteria, only to find it was closed that day. Suddenly, he blacked out. And the next thing he knew, he was locked in the classroom. Mike promised to find out who had done this. By morning, Mike had 4 suspects in mind. When school started, he interrogated them. Matthew told him he'd been doing his homework in a classroom. Emily said that she'd been with Matthew, but later she'd gone home. Olivia claimed that she'd been having lunch in the cafeteria, and Chris explained that he'd been sick that day. It took Mike no time to figure out who was guilty. It was Olivia. She couldn't have been eating lunch in the cafeteria because it was closed that day. Clara was in her hotel room when she heard someone knock on the door. She looked through the peephole and saw an unfamiliar man. He said, "Hi, I'm the hotel manager. Sorry to bother you, but our database has crashed. Could you let me in to confirm some information?" Clara immediately rushed to her phone and called hotel security. Can you figure out why? The badge on the man's chest says Chloe Smith, and that's a female name. She knew the man was a fake manager. Emma's mother asked the girl to go to the supermarket and gave her a shopping list and a bank card. But in case Emma forgot the card's PIN, her mom also gave her a little clue. When Emma was already at the checkout, she took the clue out of her pocket and immediately recalled the code. Can you say what number it was if the clue was a sheet of paper with a fly, a cat, a girl, and a snake drawn on it? The PIN was 6420. Emma just had to count the number of legs of each creature. Littlefield was a tiny village where nothing ever happened. But one day, Mr. Richardson, a rich farmer, arrived at the police station in tears, saying that 2 of his best cows were missing. There were 3 suspects, and each of them had to answer one question. "Have you taken your neighbor's animals?" Mr. Anderson said that he and Mr. Richardson had a common business and that he wouldn't risk their partnership. Mrs. Martinez stated that she'd been living in this village since birth and she wouldn't spoil her reputation because of some animals. And Mr. Jones explained that his family had been breeding pigs for centuries, and he didn't have any reason to steal cows. The police officer figured out who the criminal was. Can you? The thief is Mr. Jones. How did he know that it was cows that were stolen? Nobody had told him the animal species. A woman was having breakfast at a nice restaurant. At one moment, she noticed a fly in her coffee. She was indignant and made the waiter bring her another cup. After he returned with a new cup of coffee, she shouted, "What's with this service in this place? You've just brought me the same cup of coffee." How did she understand it? She had already put sugar in her previous cup of coffee. When she tried the new one, it was sweet. There's a barrel of water in the yard. You look inside and see that it's more than half full, but your friend argues that it's less than half full. How to figure out who's right without using any measuring tools or removing water from the barrel? Tilt the barrel so that the water touches its rim. If you can see the bottom, the barrel's less than half full. If the bottom is still covered with water, it's more.
These 3 handsome young men are brothers, identical triplets. Sam, he's very honest, and he always tells the truth. Bob always lies, and Alex is unpredictable. Sometimes he lies, but sometimes he tells the truth. Amy is the brothers' old friend. She visited them after many years, and she could barely recognize who was who. Amy asked the guy who was sitting on the left, "Which brother is sitting in the middle?" The answer was, "Oh, that's Sam." Amy then asked the brother in the middle, "What's your name?" And the reply was, "I'm Alex." Then Amy turned to the brother on the right and asked, "Who's that guy in the middle?" The brother replied, "It's Bob." Those answers confused Amy because she had asked the same question 3 times and received 3 different answers. Can you help her figure out who is who? Sam always tells the truth, so the brother on the left cannot be Sam because otherwise he wouldn't be able to call someone else by his name. The brother in the middle cannot be Sam for the same reason. So the brother on the right must be Sam. And since we know he always tells the truth, the guy in the middle is Bob, and the brother on the left is Alex. Both Bob and Alex lied to Amy. No wonder she hasn't seen them in years. Daniel lent $100 to Alex, one of the 3 triplets. Sometime later, Daniel wanted to get his money back. One morning, he meets one of the triplets not far from his house. Daniel can ask him a 3-word question. Sam always tells the truth, while Bob and Alex always lie. What question should Daniel ask? The right question would be, "Are you Bob?" Here's the list of possible replies the guy can give. If it's Sam, he'll say no. If it's Bob, he'll also say no. And if it's Alex, his reply will be yes. That's why, if Daniel hears yes, he can ask for his money. Sam, Bob, and Alex bought some chocolate candies. Sam gave Bob and Alex as many candies as they already had. Then Bob gave Sam and Alex as many candies as they already had. And finally, Alex gave Bob and Sam as many chocolates as they already had. Now, each of the brothers has 24 candies. How many chocolates did they have in the beginning? At first, Sam had 39 candies, Bob had 21, and Alex had 12. You can solve the riddle this way. Have a look. Bob leaves home and turns right 3 times. He wants to return home, but he's scared of Sam, who's wearing a mask. What's going on here? The guys are playing baseball. Sam wants to cross the Sahara Desert. This risky journey will take 6 days. But unfortunately, one man can only carry enough food and water for 4 days. Can you calculate the smallest number of other people that will need to help Sam carry enough food across the desert? Two people. Let's suppose that Sam's brothers, Alex and Bob, agree to help him out. Never mind that Bob always lies. By the end of the first day, they'll have enough food for 9 days, 4 plus 4 plus 1. Now Alex can head back home with a 1-day food package. Meanwhile, Sam and Bob can continue their journey with an 8-day package. By the end of the second day, the total food supply will reduce to 6 food packages. Now Bob can grab enough food for 2 days and go home. At this point, Sam will still have a 4-day food package to fulfill his dream. Sam met a genie in the middle of the desert. The genie said, "Hi, I'm Leo. If you solve my riddle, I'm going to fulfill your wishes. But if you fail, you'll serve me till the end of infinity. Deal?" Well, Sam agreed. Here's the riddle. It's not alive, but it grows. It doesn't have lungs, but it needs air. It can't be washed, but it's never dirty. What is it? Can you figure it out? The correct answer is fire. First of all, Sam asked the genie for some cash. 9 rare and priceless gold coins appeared in front of the guy. Leo gave Sam balance scales and said, "These coins look absolutely identical, but one of them is fake. The fake coin is lighter than the rest. What's the smallest number of weightings you'll need to find the fake coin?" The correct answer is 2. First, Sam should divide the coins into 3 equal piles. Then he should place a pile on each side of the scales, leaving the remaining pile of 3 coins on the ground. If the scales remain balanced, it means that the 6 coins on the scale are real and the fake coin is in the third pile. But if the scales do tip, Sam will easily find out which pile contains the fake coin. Spoiler, the pile which is lighter. Either way, he should put 6 gold coins aside and leave only the lightest pile. Then he can use the same method to find the third coin, by putting 1 coin on each side of the scales and leaving the third one in his hand. Sam was hungry, so he had one more wish, to have dinner. Leo began frying some fish in a pan that could only fit 2 fish at once. It takes 5 minutes to fry one side of a fish. What's the shortest time Leo needs to fry 3 fish in one pan? "15 minutes. Leo should put 2 fish in the pan and fry them for 5 minutes. Then he should take 1 fish out and then turn the other one over. After that, Leo should start frying the third fish. He should fry both fish for 5 minutes. The first fish will be ready, so he should put it away on a plate while turning the other over. Now, he should put the half-fried fish back in the pan and fry 2 fish for 5 more minutes. Voila! All 3 fish are now ready." Sam left the desert and decided to stay in this little village to get some rest. He wanted to get a haircut and a shave after his long journey. There were only 2 barber shops in this village. In the first shop, the barber was handsome with a neat haircut. He was well-dressed, and the place looked tidy and clean. Meanwhile, the barber from the second shop was shabbily dressed. His hair was cut in a weird way, and his clothes had stains from last night's dinner. His place didn't look clean at all. Which barber shop should Sam go to, and why? Since there are only 2 barbers in the village, it's obvious that the tidy barber must have his hair done by the other, and the second barber must have used the services of the first man. Therefore, Sam should choose the barber from the second shop because he's more professional. 2 business partners, Rick and Frank, met in a restaurant. It was a hot summer day, so they ordered cold mint tea with ice. Rick gulped down 5 glasses of this drink during lunch. Meanwhile, Frank managed to drink only 1 glass. Soon after that, Frank fainted and fell to the floor. Doctors diagnosed severe poisoning, but Rick was feeling completely fine. The police found out that both glasses contained poison. How did Rick, who had drunk 5 glasses of this tea, avoid any consequences? Rick survived because the poison was in the ice cubes. He drank quickly, and the ice had no time to melt in his drink. As for Frank, he drank his tea slowly, and the ice melted in his drink to poison it heavily. You pronounce me as 1, but write me as 3. You can't read this riddle without me. What am I? The correct answer is I. Bob bought a parrot from a pet shop and put it in a beautiful silver cage. The seller warned Bob that this parrot could give birth every 2 months, and it can deliver up to 5 babies at a time. How many parrots will Bob have in a year? Just 1, because he only bought 1 bird, not 2. I'm always trapped in my glass cage. I'm usually found at the bottom of the cage. If I climb higher, I get hotter. If I climb down, I get cooler. What am I? The correct answer is a thermometer. A father is locked up in jail. His wife has gone bankrupt. Their son has to sell his hotel in order to gain some money. Yet their daughter doesn't care and is happy. How can someone be so heartless? The family is playing Monopoly, and the daughter is winning the game. We've arranged 10 coins on a table this way. Altogether, they form a triangle pointing upward. Can you invert the position of the triangle and make it point downward while moving only 3 coins? Here's the easiest way to do it. Just move these coins as shown. I'm always ahead of you, yet you can never see me. What am I? Tomorrow. Can you spot your name in this alphabet soup? Oh, there it is. Rosie and Melanie are having an argument. Rosie yells, "I'm part of this club, let me in!" And Melanie replies, "Leave right now, you're not a member of our club." Can you figure out who's lying by just looking at this picture? Both ladies have club tattoos, but Melanie's tattoo is slightly different from the club's logo. Therefore, her membership must be fake.
Brad has recently downloaded a dating app and found 3 beautiful ladies right away. Fiona is an art dealer from San Francisco. She has never had a serious relationship before, but she would like to settle down. Mary is a vegan, yoga teacher, and human rights enthusiast. She loves French cheese and enjoys watching sunsets on the pier. Betty is a firefighter. In her spare time, she writes songs and performs them with her music band. Brad likes them all equally. Can you give him advice on who he should invite on a real offline date? Look at this wedding picture in Fiona's profile. She's the bride, but she claimed she had never been married. Mary is also a liar. Vegans don't eat cheese, so Brad should text Betty. As soon as Betty received a text from Brad, she ran to the bathroom to get ready for the date. She got her hair done and took out several lipsticks. Betty is a tomboy, which is why she uses makeup very rarely. Can you help her choose the right lipstick for her date? This lipstick is way too old. Look at the date. It was made in 1999 and expired a long time ago. And there's a spider inside this lipstick. Betty should choose the second one. Meanwhile, Brad took a shower and prepared to put on his favorite white shirt. But when he pulled it out of the closet, he discovered that someone had stained it with chocolate. Brad questioned his 3 brothers. Jim said he'd been cooking dinner in the kitchen. He didn't even come into Brad's room that day. Bill said that he entered Brad's room about an hour before to borrow a charger for his phone. And Mike said he'd been partying with his girlfriend all day and had just returned home. Who is lying? Bill. If he borrowed a charger 1 hour ago, why is his phone still at 1%? Brad decided to prank his brother Bill and cut 2 holes in his t-shirt. How many holes does the t-shirt have now? 8. These 2 holes are cut through the t-shirt. That makes 4 holes in total. Plus, there are 2 holes for the arms, 1 for the head, and 1 at the bottom of the t-shirt. Betty and Brad met in a restaurant. It was love at first sight. A waiter came over and said, "Good evening. What would you like to eat?" Betty answered, "I'd like something that is red, but it can be green at times, and sometimes it's yellow." The waiter cracked her riddle immediately and brought her the food she'd ordered. What was it? An apple. Brad liked the game and offered the waiter one more riddle. It can be red and it can be green. It can be black or it can be white. It tastes delicious with other dishes, but not on its own. In a minute, the waiter brought Brad his order. Have you guessed what it was? Pepper. After dinner, Brad and Betty went for a walk in the park. They were so focused on each other that they got completely lost. They began looking for a way out and came to this weird crossroad. There were 4 different roads. Each road had a sign, but the signs had no words. Still, Brad and Betty knew which path to take. What about you? This one. It's the only right hand. 5 months later, Betty moved in with Brad. They shared a family house with Brad's 3 brothers. One day, Betty got a new longboard as a gift for Brad's birthday. It was a surprise, so she locked it in a basement and went to buy some groceries for dinner. When she returned, the longboard wasn't there. She realized that one of the 4 brothers must have pulled a prank on her. Brad said he hadn't seen anything. Jim said he'd noticed the longboard while walking past the basement, but he'd been in a hurry to get to his training. Mike said he had spent the day downstairs baking cookies for his scientific club. And Bill said he'd been on a business trip. Who is behind the mysterious disappearance? Jim. Betty locked the room. It means he couldn't see the longboard unless he broke in. Brad's brothers came home after work and met Brad in the kitchen. The guy was anxious because Betty was missing. The brothers asked him to tell them everything in detail. Brad said, "Well, she made me a birthday cake with ice cream this morning. I wanted to try it, but she said we'd eat it in the evening. We argued a bit. Then I went to work. When I got back, she was gone." As soon as the brothers heard Brad's story, they called him a liar. Why? He said Betty had made the cake in the morning. Then why hasn't the ice cream melted yet? Brad got a job as a chemistry teacher. Wait, who stole his money? Brad found only one person's fingerprints on the wallet, his own. He questioned his 3 colleagues. Math teacher Jennifer said that she'd been having lunch. History teacher Becky said, "I didn't feel well yesterday, so I went home early." And English teacher Sam said that he'd been checking his students' homework in his classroom. Who is the thief? The history teacher. She used gloves to steal the money and then threw them in the trash. Betty and Brad were walking down the street. Suddenly, they met a weird-looking guy. He introduced himself as a magician and asked, "Do you guys want to get rich? Crack this 3-digit code, and the money is yours." He gave them a heavy suitcase with a combination lock and a piece of paper with this riddle. A. 548. In the first line, one number is correct and well placed. B. 530. In the second line, nothing is correct. C. 157. In the third line, 2 numbers are correct but in the wrong places. D. 806. In the fourth line, 1 number is correct but in the wrong place. E. 647. And in the fifth line, 1 number is correct but in the wrong place. Can you help the guys? You can use different approaches to crack this riddle. The easiest one is to start with statement B. None of these digits are correct. Therefore, we can exclude numbers 5, 3, and 0. In statement C, we're told that 2 numbers are correct, but in the wrong places. We can conclude that numbers 1 and 7 are in the final code, but we still don't know the order. Now let's take a look at statements D and E. In both of them, one number is correct, but in the wrong place. We already know that 7 is in the code. It means the remaining digit can't be 6. Then it must be 8. Look again at statement A. Since the correct number is 8, it must also be correctly placed. In statement C, we have 2 correct numbers, but they're in the wrong places. Since the third position in the code is already occupied by 8, we can only have one option. 7 should go first, and 1 should be second. Then the correct code is 718. Brad and Betty opened the suitcase. It had $50 million inside. They quit their jobs and went on vacation right away. They checked into a fancy hotel and went to their room to get some rest after a long, exhausting flight. In the evening, they went downstairs to have dinner in a cute Chinese restaurant. But one of the guests is not human. Can you spot who it is? Take a closer look at this guy's plate. It doesn't look like human food at all. When Betty and Brad returned to their room after the meal, they discovered that all their money and gadgets were gone.
Oh, no.
The hotel security manager asked 3 guests the same question. What were you doing within the last 2 hours? Dan said that he had spent all evening in the swimming pool area. Courtney said she'd been chilling in her room with her besties and had nothing to do with the robbery. And Henry said he had just returned from a party in another part of the city. Who's the thief? Courtney. The security manager didn't mention any robbery, but she started making excuses straight away. Brad decided to jump with a parachute, but he landed not as successfully as he had expected. As soon as Betty found out about the accident, she rushed to the hospital. In the room, she saw an unconscious person, completely in bandages. She asked a doctor who was passing by, "Sir, please let me in. It's my boyfriend." But the doctor told her that the patient was a woman. Who is right? It's a man. Look at the name tag on his bed. Brad got well pretty quickly, and Becky took him on a romantic trip to an ancient castle. They were walking around the place and taking pictures, but suddenly, all the doors slammed shut. The guys were trapped inside. Brad found a door with a 4-digit combination lock, and Betty found this piece of paper on the floor. Can you help the guys crack the code and escape? The correct code is stop. Take the first letter of September, the 6th letter of August, the 1st letter of October, and the 2nd letter of April, and you'll get the word stop.